I think I went 5 months without a single day off at one point, and it almost killed me.
It's sleeping.
What?
I don't know.
I'm sorry. I did not mean to wake you.
Yeah.
When I made that one, I was working full-time as a reality TV editor. I was working a day and a night job to try to stay afloat. I'd lived in LA for, I think, 8 years at that point, and had given myself 5 years to try to make something happen and get some traction, and it hadn't worked out. It was Kickstarter, which was still in its beta testing phase when we did that. It was brand new, and we shot it with available light on a Canon 5D Mark II in my apartment. Crew of 8 people. I remember feeling at the time like one way or another, that was either going to be my last movie or
Last.
kick something open. Yeah. I don't think Absentia would have done anything like what it did without Fangoria. Fango ran a feature piece on it, and instantly it kind of drove the audience to it. That really kind of made all of the difference. The horror press and the horror blogs held up Absentia and kind of demanded attention on it. There are few fandoms as connected and passionate as the horror fandom, and you know, they'll carry you all the way home if you let them. I was terrified going into Oculus. I still think of it as my first real movie. I was suffering from constant imposter syndrome and this feeling like any second now they'd look around and figure out I had no idea what I was doing and was making it up as I went, which I still feel to this day, frankly. I remember it being a time of enormous anxiety, but also it was so thrilling. It was so exciting to be on a real set with a real crew and with the equipment, and I'm a huge fanboy, so Karen Gillan was right here and Katie Stackhoff was right there, and I'm a major Whovian and Battlestar fan, so I was geeking out just every day to be working with them. There was one ghost in particular who really changed my life. I remember at the wrap party sitting down and talking to Kate for the first time outside of work, talk about life changing. But yeah, Oculus for me was an incredible school, and it broke open this whole other level for me because it was released theatrically, which today I don't think it would have been, and Stephen King watched it, tweeted about it, and I about died. There was a screening of it that WWE did where Hulk Hogan riled up the crowd and introduced the movie. It was bizarre. I still felt, though, that as quickly as that had happened, it could go away, and that, you know, I better have another movie ready, or every one of those movies for that 5-year period felt like this could be the last one. We shot before Oculus was released. Unfortunately, at the time, Relativity Media was going bankrupt, and we had no idea. And so the movie didn't come out. It was stuck in limbo for years. So really, it was only Hush and Ouija that were back to back. And Before I Wake was released with them, but it would have been impossible to do all three in that time frame. I had to be in prep on something new when I was in post on something. And it was out of fear that whatever I just worked on was going to fail. And that was a panicked feeling I had that didn't let up for years. And it took me a lot of years to finally look behind me and go, oh no, I'm okay.
Hey, what's happening?
The book had been out for so long, it was one of those that I think the expectation on Steve's part was that no one was ever going to make it. So yeah, it absolutely, between Oculus and Hush, that's what made him say, yep, you can have it. But back then, there was no communication with Steve at all. His agent gave me the rights. I sent the script out for approval. I heard that Steve had approved it, but I didn't actually communicate with Steve until after the movie was done. And when he saw the finished film, he sent me an email of his reaction to the movie, and I still have it framed in my office. That movie also changed a lot of things for me because it was a Netflix original, and it really embedded me at Netflix in a very meaningful way.
Where's Mom? I thought I saw her upstairs.
That's not Mom.
I really wanted to get into television because I thought that was where some of the boldest storytelling was happening, and that you had time to really dig into character, which is kind of my favorite part of what I do. Netflix was at a period of time in its evolution where they were really kind of defying the norms of the television industry and taking chances that other studios weren't, including taking a horror filmmaker who had never been involved with a TV show at all and letting him be the showrunner and direct all 10 episodes of a show. That's crazy. And again, I don't think it would happen today. I had that same kind of defensive feeling where if this is my first foray into television, I have to empty the missile silos at it. And I had to direct every episode because succeed or fail, I wanted it to be on my terms. And it almost killed me. I lost 45 pounds during production. It was over 100 days of straight production. I think I went 5 months without a single day off at one point. But that's what it took to direct 10 episodes, all block shot like a feature. I almost didn't survive it. It turned out to again be a project that radically changed my life and leveled me up in a serious way, but it came at an enormous cost with that one. And it remains to this day the hardest and most brutal production experience I've ever had, and I didn't enjoy it. I didn't come out of Hill House like, yeah, I came out of it bleeding and never wanting to go back.
So we lived in Florida.
I'm sorry?
Mom and
I'm afraid I don't know who you mean.
So with Dr. Sleep, I met Steve for the first time when I showed him the movie. We brought the finished movie to Bangor and screened it for him before anyone else saw it. And I sat with him in an empty theater and watched Dr. Sleep. And that was the first time I met him. And I was terrified of his reaction because I know how he feels about The Shining. But he loved the movie. And then after that, I'd say we became friends. We became friendly. And then we were in more regular contact, and I've seen him, in person a bunch since then, and he came to the Chuck premiere, which is really neat.
His mind finally found the word. The word was unearthed by his fear, like the tomb was unearthed by the storm, and the word was angel. Angel.
I got smarter about not trying to do it all. I only directed one episode of Bly Manor. And I was there for all of it, but I got much better at delegation, and I got much better at enlisting other filmmakers and giving them ownership over it as well. By the time Midnight Mass came around, I had kind of forgotten. It's like childbirth. You forget the pain. But by then I was like, oh yeah, I want to do all the episodes again. But it was only 7 episodes. That one didn't almost kill me. That was a wonderful experience. And now I'm about to do my 6th series, and I'm completely relaxed about it. And I feel like I figured that out.
When you look up at the night sky, it can tell you stuff about your future.
I read it back in April 2020, so right after the shutdown. I felt like the world was ending outside the window, and when I started reading it, I didn't think I could keep reading it. It hit so close to home. And I'm so glad I did, because by the end of the story, I was crying with joy and optimism and this incredibly surprising, gentle kind of reassurance that the story provided. And I was looking back at my life in a whole different way. And I shut the book and turned to Kate, and I said, if I get to make this, it's probably the best movie I'll ever get to make. I emailed Steve and kind of begged for the story, and he had just given me the rights to The Dark Tower, so he said, not right now. He likes you to only have one thing at a time, so it doesn't slow anything down. It's still happening, but it's taking its time. It's a juggernaut. And so there was time to do Chuck, and I got to ask after it again a few years later, and he said, are you sure? That's a strange one. And I was like, that's why I like it. And he let me run with it, and it's my favorite movie I've ever worked on in my life. It's a major departure, but that's one of the reasons I loved it. And this was always meant to just be a little movie that I wanted to leave in the world for my kids when I'm gone. In TV, the one that came from the heart was Midnight Mass. And for my features, this is it. That feeling I've always had of, what if the career goes away? What if Hollywood doesn't want you anymore? If that happened now, I'd be crushed, of course, but I'd walk away being like, I got to do Midnight Mass and Chuck. I'm good.
Wonderful.